Hello, you're welcome to this lecture. So, this particular lecture focus on midweek review assessments, and we're trying to evaluate uh, what we've done so far. So, we're consolidating and reinforcing knowledge from lectures numbers 1 to lecture number 7. And we'll be doing some diagnosis too. And the focus of this diagnosis is more or less to identify gap in our understanding, transit you and to apply you into the industry, sort of to situate you into the industry. I know majority of you by now you've gone further into your production process as assigned earlier, and this particular session sort of give you some clarity as per what what is expected of you, your submissions and more. So you are meant to be prepared now to apply some of these things to the very finest possible way. It is not simply a test, it is a structured checkpoint, you know, in the learning system. So, like I've mentioned, the session marked the midpoint of the course, and it is an opportunity to assess not only what you have learned, but how to effectively apply it. The focus is not memorization, it is the ability to recognize editorial issues, understand the production workflow, and to apply typesetting principles. So, um, just like I've always done, let me know that you are here. Okay, check in. Let's move on with this interesting aspect. All right. Now we're doing a mid semester review, and we're trying to, do some assessment of what we've done so far. So, what is our goal? What are our goals? We're trying to solve some technical issues that people ignore and ensure that we are on the right track. For example, you have manuscript before you, you need to assess if it is publishable, is it something readable, to have a market ready for it. If I have market ready for it, how useful would that be for my audience? How useful would that be, or how beneficial will it be for me? So these are some of the things you need to consider. And how will I am I going to navigate my way? Who are my audience? How do I ensure that there's minimum error? These are some of the considerations we are putting in. Okay, so now moving on. By the end of this particular lecture, not I won't call it a lecture, but it is somewhat a lecture. We're approaching, at a point where we need to develop some professional expertise. So I'm trying to some checkpoints in place. So your performance here will determine whether you're a foundational understanding, if it is strong enough, whether you are ready for design, or in fact, if you have designed it, if your work is good enough at this stage. And of course, the layout tax, where and further actions is also, required. You'll be able to know that. So, while we'll be reviewing the key concept from 1 to 7, we'll be applying some editorial and product knowledge that we already know. If you are not yet applied it to your work that is ongoing, you should look back and review your work. We'll evaluate the readiness for advanced practical work, and also identify areas requiring and now, these are the scope of our assessments. We'll look at the copy editing principle, what you've done so far, or the 4 C's framework, editorial decision making, production workflow, typesetting fundamentals. These are some of the areas I'll be looking. And then we'll be considering some editorial accuracy, which is grammar checks. Have you checked your document, your manuscript? If you claim you're ready, done. Are you sure that work is truly done? It's done. You understand my point? So the grammar, is it intact? Is it correct? What English have you used? Have you ensured consistency throughout your entire document? How about punctuations? How about capitalizations? What else style have you adopted? How about clarity? Think about clarity. And this session sort of, it evaluates your ability to, detect to correct surface level errors. However, do not approach this mechanically. Accuracy must be combined with some level of clarity of expression, consistency of application. This is key. Now, for section B, part of the assessment, which is it focuses on style consistency, tone, read and register, authors, queries, and we look at context sensitive decisions that you need to make, and so this is where many students may struggle. You're not simply identifying error, you're making decisions. For example, should a title be capitalized? Is a sentence formally appropriate? Does a statement require verification? This requires some sort of judgment, not just rules. So again, in section C, we're looking at the production workflow, the workflow stages. It's very important that you know these key stages, the role identification of each of the stages, and also the process of sequencing these tasks. The section D aspect of it focus on typesetting principles, which has to do with spacing, leading, canning, that I've mentioned earlier, alignment, styles, layout, consistency, very, very important discussing now. So we need to be sure that we're actually on top of our game and doing the right season. So I hope this help you. Okay. So okay, for now, I would say let's take a moment to reflect on what you've done so far. Let's take a moment to reflect on what so far. And if you look at the way things are, progressing, do you think you are already good to go? Okay, if you are not, you have not designed your pages yet, you must recognize what constitutes, good typography. If you have designed it, you should review what constitutes good typography, what errors look like, why consistency also matter. So these are the example. Would question will be like, you identifying and correcting errors in sentences and short sentences. So I really don't want to discuss this much, but I will just give you an insight. It's just simple, relatable questions such that it gives you a scenario. Sometimes it gives you an option. Test your conceptual knowledge, your application knowledge, give you a sample text for you to look at and also provide response. So it is a multi-layers level of testing and more that will assess your ability to identify multi-layer levels of error. We are exploring reasoning, applying structured corrections. This model is expected sort of thinking in real life situation. Now, these are some common mistakes that you need to avoid. Avoid focusing on only grammar. Ignore consistency. Ignore consistency. Ignoring consistency is another big thing. Ignoring consistency is when you are ignoring consistency, you're causing big, big, big mistake. You're causing big problem, and that problem is one of the most common mistakes. So it's common because people often overlook what is it. Skipping fact checking can get into a lot of legal trouble. So you need to be sure that your content is fact checked. You are not making allusions that can easily be deducted and connected to somebody. Does that make sense? So these are some of the things you need to know and focus on. So again, I would say skipping or overlooking formatting is another thing. You need to ensure that there's consistency in your formatting. Your formatting is as good because it's your presentation. Your presentation is key. When you present shabbily, it affects the way things progress. So you need to ensure that your presentation is smooth, it's appropriate in sense. Each time and you look at it, does this make sense? How am I going to navigate this particular difficult bottleneck and more? So you need to be sure about all of this. So these are some of the things you need to know. All right. So now in this particular area, students, I understand you often correct spelling, but you ignore structure. Alignment, all of these things matters. Many fail to apply our style, yes, consistently across documents. So fact checking is frequently, even sometimes, most times overlooked, which is very important. I said you can get into trouble. This is where the marks are lost, in some cases. So be wary of that and be very much aware about that. And I'd like to make some progress to ask you now, what questions have you got for me? What questions have you got for me at this time? If you have questions, please go ahead. Yeah, if there's anything you have questions about your work, your progress, or your concerns, if you looked at your folder, is it looking good, or there's needs for some sort of improvement at some of it. So it's time for it. Your engagement really matters. This course, don't engage, that can score itself. Right. Okay. Now, if you have got questions, that will be great, and then I'll be answering those questions as soon as I have time. So now we'll have this assessment strategy. You should read carefully. Apply the checklist approved. Remember the approved. I'm not going to what that means. Okay, back to the video. I'll provide the link. So you need to learn how to work systematically. Learn how to work systematically. Learn how to work systematically. When you work systematically, it puts you in a it helps you to make of things. So now learn to work systematically and also review before submitting. That is the essence of this particular session. Scan for obvious errors, apply styles consistently, verify facts where they are required, review for completeness and avoid rushing. Do not rush. You rush to submit, you can rush to have a carryover, you can rush to have a low score. Why don't you just do what is so you can now there's this live assessment we are going to provide. I'll provide it and then I will expect that you attend to them. And then this is an one what that is it's like testing your participation. If you don't score well, that ultimately shows how much of the level it shows your level of participation, I would say, in your group work. So submit responses as instructed. So now the reflection part of it is for you to think about it. What is most difficult? Things. What are gaps? What gaps do I have in you? And I will encourage you to submit honest reflections. You should identify the weak areas that you have, skills, requirements, improvements, things that you are deficient of, the things you have to pay for because you don't have the skills. So this sort of prepares you for the next phase of your learning process. So transiting, we'll be looking at in our next class, we'll be applying typesetting out in real teaching. What I understand, some of you have gone ahead to try your hands on these things. You've got your work already, in place. Don't worry, there's a room for improvement. There's a room for for incremental progress. So practical typesetting class will be done, and then it will be presented to you in future lessons, which you are gonna, you have your experience on. So this focuses on layout, design, product. This is where knowledge sort of outputs. This is where knowledge becomes output. I'll just put it at that. Some of it I've given you some tasks where you have to use Canva because of accessibility to in design. I understand it is expensive, it is not easily accessible, not everybody have a laptop. And to make things easy, Canva is free, it's available online. It's freemium, I won't say it's free, it's available online. You can actually present some of these things. That is the reason why I've asked. So for some of you, you've already passed through this phase, which is quite very good. So no need to worry, we just focus on the group. So now if you're here, it's time for you to check out. Don't forget, good layout is not noticed. Poor layout is very impossible to ignore because it's just look. Check out. All right. So on this note, I would say thank you very much for joining today. I hope something good. I'll keep the question slide there up for a moment again. If you have got questions at the end of this and you haven't to put in earlier, so it will be a good time for you. Which is right. I'll keep it up for about 20 seconds. So while you're looking at ISIS, you've got no question, some feedback from me. You have some comments, maybe there's some things that has changed about you since the inception of this. Actually, you can put it as comments in the chat as you're watching this. You can some feedback, tell us how transformative this journey has. difficulty that you fixed, the challenges you fixed, and what you've learned and what you are planning. These are some of the things. What are your thinking process? What are your reflections? What do you think about this course? How is it different from every other course? Tell me something, and that will help me have an idea of how things are. So on this note, I would say thank you.